Do you know what you're listening to? You're listening to Thoughts of the Week.
Oh, how's that?
Dr. Emma Wheeler, all right? And I'm going to pull her picture up right here. This is Dr. Emma Wheeler right there, all right? And so here we go. Dr. Emma Rochelle Wheeler was Chattanooga's first African-American female physician. Dr. Emma Rochelle Wheeler was Chattanooga's first African-American female physician and the only one for the next 35 years. Dr. Wheeler was not a native Chattanoogan, but African Americans in Chattanooga, Tennessee, came to consider her one of their own. Emma Rochelle was born near Gainesville, Florida, on February 8, 1882. Her father was a farmer and veterinarian. Emma became interested in medicine at the very tender age of 6 when her father took her to see a white female doctor for a minor eye problem. After graduating from Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee, Emma married Dr. John N. Wheeler, and she and her husband moved to Chattanooga and began practicing medicine together. When they arrived in Chattanooga, fresh from their honeymoon, the Negro population had already topped 13,122 and would reach 17,942 by 1910. There were at least 4 other doctors and 3 dentists listed in the city directory at the time that Emma and her husband arrived. Of course, Emma was the first African-American female physician that anyone in Chattanooga, Negro or white, had ever seen, and she was indeed an oddity to the people. Unless they counted the grannies, the Negro midwives who delivered the babies and tried to cure the general ailments that plagued the community, there wasn't another African-American lady physician like her for miles. In fact, aside from Miss Georgia Esther Lee Patton, who had earned her medical degree from Meharry in 1893 and set up her practice in Memphis, and who Chattanooga Negroes have probably never even heard of, Emma was the only African American female physician for miles in any direction. Most of the African American physicians were centered in the downtown area on Market Street or East 9th Street. A lot of you from Chattanooga know where that's at. But Wheeler and her husband chose to open their offices on Main Street. As a central location, Main Street was close enough to the downtown area for the Wheelers to be within reach of the medical community when they needed to be, yet it was also located close to several Negro communities concentrated in and around Washington Street, 16th Street, Rossville Boulevard, in the East End, which is Central Avenue, and Reed Avenue. A lot of y'all know where those locations are at that live in Chattanooga. It was also within buggy distance of the local train depot. The Wheelers labored side by side for 10 grueling years, trying to provide much needed health care to the African American citizens of Chattanooga, while helping the community to improve their own personal and physical well-being. Or I'll say that again. The Wheelers labored side by side for 10 grueling years, trying to provide much needed health care to the African American citizens of Chattanooga, while helping the community to improve their own personal and physical well-being. Of course, Wheeler was an entrepreneur before the word even became popular in the American vocabulary. As she began to reflect on the medical environment of Chattanooga, Tennessee, she soon realized that nothing was going to change about African American healthcare unless African Americans took matters into their own hands. All right. Let me stop there for a moment, because that still seems to be what's necessary today in 2021. And yet in the 1800s or so, 1900s, this was the mindset of Emma Wheeler. In order for African Americans' healthcare to be top notch or to be good, they had to have African Americans had to take matters in their own hands. They couldn't leave it up to other races of people. All right. With money she saved during the first 10 years of medical practice, Emma Wheeler purchased 2 lots on the corner of East A Street and Douglas Streets. There, she had a 3-story building constructed to her specifications. And I'm gonna give you those pictures here in a little bit when we talk about Walden Hospital. She had enough money to pay for 1/2 the total cost of the building in cash. She wanted a facility with enough room to attend the ever-growing medical needs of the African American community. She also dreamed of having a facility that granted full admitting privileges to African American physicians. This new facility would be a teaching hospital too, one that served as a practical training school for student nurses. On July 30th, 1915, Emma Rochelle Wheeler's vision came to life. Walden Hospital, with its 30-bed capacity, 9 private rooms, and 1 ward of 12 beds, was officially dedicated and open for business. Walden Hospital had surgical, maternity, and nursery departments. It was staffed by 2 house doctors and 3 nurses, but a total of 17 other physicians and surgeons from the Mountain City Medical Society also used the facility and admitted their patients. On the average, the new Walden Hospital served approximately 12 patients a month. John N. Wheeler, Emma's husband, also used the facility, but the hospital was built, paid for, managed, and operated by Emma Wheeler. The hospital did so well that Emma paid off the remaining note on the building within 3 years of opening for business. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. Wheeler served as superintendent of Walden Hospital. She personally performed many surgical procedures, but she also had to maintain long office hours as hospital manager. One of her many duties, for instance, was maintaining a school for nurses. She and John Wheeler taught and trained numerous students who dreamed of becoming nurses. Emma will go on to perform this duty for more than 20 years. In 1925, Emma Wheeler initiated the Nurse Services Club of Chattanooga. It was the only club of its type in Chattanooga and was entirely separate from the hospital's operation. Once again, Emma Wheeler proved herself ahead of her time. Her Nurse Services Club was extremely innovative. It had a prepayment plan and offered 2 weeks of free hospitalization if needed. It also offered at-home assistance given by a nurse after discharge from the hospital. Emma Wheeler was also involved in other community activities. In 1925, she joined Emma Henry, Zenobia House, and Marjorie Parker in organizing the Pi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Chattanooga's first AKA chapter. In 1928, Emma and John Wheeler erected a new building on East 9th Street in the 500 block, just across Douglas Street. This building was slotted for more office space, and there the Wheelers practiced medicine and offered office space for other doctors. Their building had the name Wheeler and the year 1928 inscribed across the top. In 1940, John N. Wheeler died, leaving Emma Wheeler to continue the family medical legacy alone. He was buried in Highland Cemetery. By 1951, Emma Wheeler had been running Walden Hospital for 36 years, 11 of them alone. Her and managing Walden Hospital. With her retirement, her health began to decline, and finally in June of 1953, she decided to retire from operating and managing Walden Hospital. With her retirement, Chattanooga's first and only African-American owned and operated hospital ceased operation on June 30th, 1953, after 38 wonderful years of services. Unfortunately, although Emma expressed hope that the Nurse Services Club would continue, it was also disbanded after the hospital ceased operation. Despite her retirement, Emma continued to practice general medicine for a while and received her patients on the first floor of the Walden building. On September 12, 1957, Emma Rochelle Wheeler died in Nashville's Hubbard Hospital at the great age of 75. Her family brought her body back to Chattanooga, Tennessee, the city she loved, and held funeral services at the Wiley Memorial Methodist Church. Emma Rochelle Wheeler was buried in Highland Cemetery next to her husband, John N. Wheeler. Wow, 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 wow. She was very innovative. She was an entrepreneur. She ran the hospital alone for quite a bit of years. And man, that's a lot for a lot of women can be proud as well. All right. And again, here's a picture of her in the book. All right. And I forgot to pull up that book here. I'm going to show you guys again. This is the book we're going into today. All right. African Americans of Chattanooga, a history of unsung heroes. All right.